She saved him as a teen, then he shocked her with one line, "I serve the nation now." She worked double shifts, barely made rent, and had no family of her own. He was just a teenage boy, homeless, broken, forgotten. She gave him food, then a home, and eventually, a future. 20 years later, she got a letter that made her fall to her knees. It had just one line, "I serve the nation now, because of you." This is not a fairy tale. It's what happens when one act of kindness changes everything. Please support us by subscribe, like and share for more with activating the notification bell. Thank you. It was a Tuesday night in a small Georgia town, and the rain hadn't stopped for hours. Karen Mitchell, a 32-year-old waitress at Ruby's Diner, was wiping down booths and counting tips when she noticed him. Through the glass, sitting on the curb under the neon open sign, was a soaking wet teenager, skinny, shivering, eyes low. He looked about 14 or 15, with ripped sneakers and a busted backpack. She walked outside, holding a styrofoam cup of hot chocolate. "You hungry?" she asked gently. The boy looked up but said nothing. His silence wasn't rude, it was raw, like he hadn't heard kindness in a while. "Come in. It's warm." He hesitated. Then followed. That was the first night Jordan Carter entered her world. Jordan was cautious, barely spoke, and clearly hadn't eaten in days. Karen didn't pry. She just brought him a plate of pancakes, a dry towel, and space to breathe. He devoured the food like he hadn't had a warm meal in weeks. When the diner closed, he disappeared into the night. But the next night, he came back. And the next. Karen started leaving a booth open and a plate ready. He never asked, she just knew. She learned over time that Jordan had lost his mother to cancer when he was 10. His father had been in and out of jail, then disappeared. He'd been living behind a car wash, showering in gas station sinks, and reading discarded newspapers. No one had noticed him. No one had cared. But Karen did. And so began the quiet, unspoken bond between a waitress and a boy the world had forgotten. Karen found out that Jordan had never officially dropped out of school, he just stopped going. The paperwork had swallowed him up. The counselors had written him off. Karen wasn't having it. She took him to the district office, vouched for him, argued with principals, and filled out every form herself. Within a week, Jordan was re-enrolled. He started attending classes. Quiet. Focused. Invisible. But his grades soared. Teachers began noticing his essays, sharp, insightful, heartbreaking. He was a thinker, a deep soul trapped in survival mode. At the diner, he worked off his meals by bussing tables and sweeping floors. But Karen never kept score. One night, after closing, Jordan stood at the door with his backpack. "I don't got anywhere tonight," he mumbled. Karen looked him in the eyes. "Then you're staying here. I got a couch. And clean sheets." He didn't cry. But he looked down and whispered, "Thank you." That night, Jordan moved in. They didn't talk much about feelings. But every day, he showed up. And every night, she made dinner for two. At school, Jordan began tutoring other students. He joined the debate club. A teacher wrote, "Jordan is the most disciplined and intellectually gifted student I've seen in years." Karen framed that note and hung it in the kitchen. When he turned 18, he graduated with honors. Karen cheered louder than anyone in the stands. She assumed he'd go to college. But one morning, his room was empty. Only a note remained, "Miss Karen, you gave me a life. I'll be back. I promise. I need to earn it." She didn't hear from him for 2 decades. Karen never stopped hoping. Every birthday, she made Jordan's favorite cake, chocolate with cherry filling. Every Christmas, she hung a stocking with his name. She never moved his things. Time passed. The diner stayed open. The world changed. But one thing didn't, her love for the boy she once found in the rain. Then, on a spring afternoon 20 years later, a sharply dressed young man in a navy blue uniform walked into Ruby's diner. He looked around, spotted her behind the counter, and stood at attention. "Karen Mitchell." She turned, eyes narrowing. "Yes." He smiled. "It's me. Jordan." Her breath caught. She dropped her notepad and stared. He stepped forward, removed his officer's cap, and handed her an envelope. She opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a single line, "I serve the nation now, Because of you. Tears welled in her eyes. She embraced him, the room around them going silent. Customers stood. Some clapped. Some cried. For Karen, the world had just come full circle. Jordan explained everything. He had enlisted in the U.S. Navy shortly after graduation. He wanted discipline, structure, and purpose. He wanted to become someone worthy of the second chance he'd been given. He had served aboard humanitarian missions, helped in earthquake zones, and saved lives during hurricane rescues. He had risen through the ranks, not just with strength, but with compassion. One mission changed him forever, pulling children from flooded homes during a typhoon. He remembered what it felt like to be forgotten. And he vowed no child in his presence would ever feel that again. His peers called him the quiet shield. His superiors called him leadership material. But in his heart, he was still the boy Karen had fed. The story of their reunion went viral. Local news stations ran features. Talk shows invited them. Donations poured in to help Karen retire. The mayor declared a town day in their honor. Jordan gave a speech. She didn't save me with money. She saved me with belief. And now, every uniform I wear carries her love inside it. Karen couldn't stop crying. Jordan stayed for 2 weeks. He repaired the old screen door. He cleaned the attic. He refilled the kitchen with groceries. Every night, they ate together like old times. On his last night, they sat under the porch light, sipping tea. "Miss Karen," he said softly, "can I ask something?" "Anything." "Can I call you Mom now?" She didn't answer. She just reached over and held his hand. When he left, he promised to return soon. But this time, he left behind more than a note. He left behind a framed photo of him in uniform, with a handwritten message, "To Mom, the one who gave me everything before I had anything." Ruby's Diner became a pilgrimage site. Veterans came to eat where Jordan once washed dishes. A street was renamed Mitchell Carter Way. Every Veterans Day, a Navy officer shows up at the diner, orders hot chocolate, and leaves a $100 tip. And every year, Karen smiles, knowing the boy she saved didn't just make it, he changed the world. She didn't have money, power, or a big platform. Just a heart big enough to save one life. He didn't have a home, a plan, or even hope. Just enough strength to hold on until someone saw him. One hot chocolate. One warm couch. One life forever changed. Kindness isn't small. It's generational. Share this story. Someone out there might be a Jordan waiting for a Karen.